He whispered, "Wake up," to the dragon statue, and the mountain shook. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The ancient mountain loomed over the small research outpost, its jagged peak disappearing into the swirling mists. Nathan Brooks stood at the base, a lone figure dwarfed by the immensity of what locals called the Sleeping Guardian, his breath forming small clouds in the crisp morning air. No one believed Dr. Nathan Brooks when he claimed that the mountain held secrets beyond human understanding. The Archaeological Society had laughed him out of their annual conference 3 years ago. His funding was cut, his reputation shattered. Yet here he was, standing before the massive stone dragon carved into the mountainside, weathered by thousands of years, but still unmistakably not of human origin. The locals feared the mountain. The indigenous people who had lived in its shadow for generations spoke of it in hushed tones, calling it Dormeru, the Sleeping One. Their legends warned of a time when it would awaken, bringing either salvation or destruction. Nathan had spent years translating their ancient texts, learning their language, and earning their trust. "You're making a mistake, Brooks," said Tyler Grant, the expedition's security lead, approaching from behind. His military background was evident in his rigid posture and alert eyes that constantly scanned their surroundings. "We should wait for the rest of the team." "They won't come," Nathan replied, his voice barely audible over the wind that seemed to whisper through the dragon's stone teeth. "After what happened to Carter's group last month, no one's willing to risk their reputation on my theories." He didn't mention that Tyler was only here because the military had its own interest in the site, something about unusual energy readings that had been detected in recent months. "Your theories got us this far," Tyler admitted reluctantly. He adjusted the rifle slung across his back, a precaution against the local wildlife, he claimed, though Nathan suspected it was meant for threats of a more human nature. "But that doesn't mean you should go touching things before Dr. Chen arrives with the proper equipment." Nathan ignored him, placing his hand on the cold stone of the dragon's massive claw. The statue was enormous, at least 30 meters tall, carved with such precision that even after millennia of erosion, the scales were still visible, each one intricately detailed. Its head was tilted skyward, jaws open in a silent roar, wings spread as if ready to take flight. What fascinated Nathan most were the inscriptions that covered the dragon's body, symbols that matched no known human language, yet bore striking similarities to mathematical equations. He had spent years deciphering them, combining elements of linguistics, mathematics, and what some of his more open-minded colleagues had termed xenoarchaeology. "I've waited long enough," Nathan said, more to himself than to Tyler. He pulled out his notebook, flipping to the page where he had written the phonetic translation of what he believed was a key phrase in the dragon's language. "Brooks," Tyler warned, taking a step forward. "The military is funding this expedition on the condition that nothing happens without proper oversight. Dr. Chun will be here tomorrow. Emily's a good scientist, but she doesn't understand what we've found here," Nathan replied, tracing the symbols carved into the dragon's foreleg. "This isn't just a statue, Tyler. It's technology beyond anything we've ever seen." The wind picked up, swirling around them with unusual intensity. Nathan could have sworn he heard a distant rumble, like thunder from within the mountain itself. "What kind of technology?" Tyler asked, his professional curiosity momentarily overriding his caution. "I think," Nathan hesitated, knowing how it would sound. "I think it's alive." Tyler's laugh was cut short as the ground beneath them trembled slightly. "Seismic activity in this region is common," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. "It's not an earthquake," Nathan said, excitement building in his voice. "It's responding to us, to our presence." He placed both hands on the stone now, feeling a faint warmth that shouldn't have been possible in the cool mountain air. He leaned closer to the dragon's massive head, where its ear would be if it were a living creature. Something was pulling him forward, a compulsion he couldn't explain. The symbols in his notebook suddenly made perfect sense, as if they had rearranged themselves in his mind. "Brooks, step back right now," Tyler ordered, his hand moving to his weapon. But Nathan couldn't stop himself. He pressed his lips close to the stone and whispered the words he had translated. Vrakanth Selmora. Wake up. For a moment, nothing happened. Tyler relaxed slightly, about to make some remark about failed theories. Then the mountain shook. It wasn't a gentle tremor, but a violent shudder that knocked both men off their feet. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the valley, like the groan of the earth itself. Cracks appeared in the stone dragon, not as if it were breaking apart, but as if something within was breaking free. What did you do? Tyler shouted over the noise, scrambling to his feet and pulling Nathan back. Nathan could only watch in awe as the cracks spread across the dragon's surface, light spilling out from within, not the warm yellow of fire but a cool blue glow that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. It's waking up, Nathan whispered, a mixture of terror and exhilaration washing over him. A deafening crack split the air as the dragon's stone eye opened, revealing a glowing orb that fixed its gaze directly on Nathan. The stone around it began to shift, scales rippling as if they were made of flesh instead of rock. The massive head turned, stone grinding against stone, and the jaws parted wider. Tyler had his rifle up now, though what good he thought it would do against a mountain, Nathan couldn't imagine. We need to get out of here, Tyler said, grabbing Nathan's arm and pulling him back. Now, but Nathan resisted. No, you don't understand. This is what I've been working toward my entire career. It's trying to communicate. The dragon's mouth opened wider, and a sound emerged, not the roar of a beast, but a series of tones that resonated in Nathan's chest, each one distinct and purposeful. It was a language, he realized. The dragon was speaking, and somehow, impossibly, he understood. First contact protocol initiated. The voice rumbled, not in English, but in concepts that translated themselves in Nathan's mind. Dormancy cycle terminated. Assessing situation. Tyler had stopped pulling at Nathan's arm, his face pale as he stared up at the awakening colossus. Is it talking? Yes, Nathan breathed, stepping forward again despite Tyler's attempt to hold him back. It's some kind of sentinel. A guardian. Guardian of what? Tyler demanded, his voice strained. Before Nathan could answer, the ground shook again as the dragon's massive limbs began to move, stone flowing like liquid, transforming into something that looked more like metal than rock, a shimmering, iridescent material that caught the sunlight and broke it into prismatic patterns. Threat assessment in progress, the dragon's voice rumbled. Scanning local life forms. A beam of blue light shot from the dragon's eye, sweeping over Nathan and Tyler. Nathan stood still, arms spread slightly as if in welcome, while Tyler dove for cover behind a boulder. Species identification, human, the dragon continued. Technological development, pre-space. Threat level, minimal. We're not a threat, Nathan called out, hoping the creature could understand him as well as he understood it. We're explorers. Scholars. We came to learn. The dragon's head tilted slightly, regarding him with that glowing eye. Purpose of awakening. Curiosity, Nathan replied honestly. We found your symbols, your language. We wanted to understand. A sound like grinding stone filled the air. It took Nathan a moment to realize the dragon was laughing. Curiosity. A dangerous trait, and a valuable one. Tyler had emerged from behind his cover, rifle lowered but still ready. Brooks, what is this thing? Some kind of alien technology. The dragon's attention shifted to Tyler, noting the weapon in his hands. Defensive posture detected. Reasonable caution. You are the protector of this scholar. Tyler glanced at Nathan, then back to the dragon. I'm responsible for his safety, yes. Then we share a purpose, the dragon said, its massive head lowering until it was level with them, close enough that Nathan could feel the heat emanating from its now metallic form. I am Vrakanth, guardian of the seed. The seed? Nathan asked, his mind racing through possibilities. What seed? The mountain trembled again, but this time it was more controlled, purposeful. The rock face behind the dragon began to part, revealing a massive doorway that hadn't been visible before. Come, Vrakanth said, the stone-turned metal body fully free now, towering above them. The dragon's wings extended, spanning at least 50 meters from tip to tip, blocking out the sun. I will show you. Tyler stepped close to Nathan, speaking quietly but urgently. This is beyond our mission parameters. We need to report this before proceeding. Report to whom? Nathan asked, never taking his eyes off the dragon. The military? Scientists who wouldn't believe me even with evidence? This is a first contact situation, Tyler. We're meeting an intelligent non-human entity. Nothing is more important than this moment. Non-human is putting it mildly, Tyler muttered, but he didn't try to stop Nathan as he approached the doorway that had opened in the mountain. You are the first to awaken me in 7,000 of your years, Vrakanth said, moving with surprising grace for something so massive. The dragon's body seemed to flow rather than walk, the metal-like substance of its form in constant, subtle motion. The ones before you called themselves the Anasazi. They were not ready for what I guarded. Perhaps you will be. The Anasazi disappeared mysteriously, Nathan said, his archaeological mind working overtime. Their civilization collapsed around 1300 CE. Did you have something to do with that? They awakened me too soon, Vrakanth replied, leading them through the doorway into a vast chamber carved into the heart of the mountain. They were unprepared for the knowledge I offered. It destroyed them. Tyler gave Nathan a pointed look. That's reassuring. The chamber they entered defied all expectations. Instead of a dark cave, they found themselves in a space that seemed larger inside than should have been physically possible. The walls, floor, and ceiling were covered in the same symbols Nathan had studied on the dragon's body, but here they glowed with inner light, shifting and changing as if alive. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, and on it, a sphere about the size of a basketball, composed of the same iridescent material as Vrakanth's transformed body. It pulsed with energy, casting rippling waves of light throughout the chamber. The seed, Vrakanth announced, circling the pedestal. The dragon had reduced in size upon entering the chamber, now only about the size of a small bus rather than a skyscraper. The reason for my vigil. What is it? Nathan asked, approaching the sphere with reverence. It is knowledge, technology, power. Vrakanth's voice grew solemn. It is a gift from those who came before, those you might call the Seeders. Aliens, Tyler said flatly, no longer bothering to hide his disbelief. You're telling us aliens left this here? My creators were not from your world, Vrakanth confirmed. They visited many worlds, leaving guardians and seeds where they found promise. They hoped that in time, the younger races would grow ready to receive their legacy. Nathan could barely contain his excitement. And you think we're ready now? Vrakanth's glowing eyes fixed on him. I do not know. That is what I must determine. The awakening is only the beginning of the test. Test. Tyler's hand drifted back toward his weapon. What kind of test? One of wisdom and restraint, Vrakanth replied. The seed contains knowledge that could elevate your species to the stars in a single generation, or destroy you utterly if misused. Nathan's mind was reeling with implications. This is why you were left here? To judge when humanity was ready for this knowledge. To offer it when the time was right, Vrakanth corrected. And to protect it until then. Protect it from whom? Tyler asked, the tension in his voice indicating he already suspected the answer. From those who would use it unwisely, Vrakanth said, the glow in its eyes intensifying. From those who seek power without understanding. From those who would destroy rather than create. Tyler and Nathan exchanged glances, both recognizing the weight of what was being said. There are many who would want this technology, Tyler admitted. Not all of them with good intentions. So I have observed, Vrakanth said, and there was sadness in its voice. Your world is divided. You fight amongst yourselves even as greater threats loom beyond your knowledge. Greater threats? Nathan asked, alarmed. What do you mean? Before Vrakanth could answer, a sound from outside interrupted them. The distinctive whir of helicopter blades approaching rapidly. That's not Chen's team, Tyler said, moving to the entrance of the chamber. They weren't due until tomorrow, and they would have come by ground transport. Nathan felt a chill of foreboding. Who then? Military, Tyler said grimly. Probably responding to the seismic activity and energy surge when it woke up. He nodded toward Vrakenth. Your people approach, Vrakenth observed. Are they friends or foes? Tyler hesitated before answering. I don't know. My orders were to secure the site and report any findings. But this. He gestured at the chamber, the dragon, the glowing seed. This is beyond anything they were expecting. We need to be careful how we proceed, Nathan said urgently. If the wrong people get control of this technology, it would be the Anasazi all over again, Vrakenth finished. Or worse. The sound of the helicopters grew louder. Through the doorway, they could see 3 black military-style helicopters approaching the mountain. I should go out and meet them, Tyler said, though he didn't sound enthusiastic about the prospect. Try to control the situation. And if they've come to take the seed by force? Nathan asked. Tyler's expression hardened. Then we have a problem. Vrakenth moved to the entrance, growing in size again as it approached the opening. I have defended the seed for 7 millennia. I will not surrender it now, not even to your kind. Wait, Nathan said, stepping between them. Let's not assume the worst. Tyler, go meet them. Find out what they want. Buy us some time. Tyler nodded reluctantly. What are you going to do? Nathan looked at the seed, then at Vrakenth. I'm going to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can. If this knowledge is as valuable as Vrakenth says, we need to understand it before making any decisions about who gets access to it. Be careful, Brooks, Tyler warned. Some knowledge comes at a price. All knowledge does, Nathan replied. But ignorance costs more. As Tyler left the chamber, Vrakenth turned its glowing gaze on Nathan. Your companion speaks wisely. The seed's knowledge is not without danger. I understand, Nathan said, approaching the pedestal where the seed pulsed with inner light. But I've spent my life searching for answers about humanity's place in the universe. I can't turn back now. Very well, Vrakenth said, shrinking down again to move beside him. Then let us begin. Place your hands on the seed, Nathan Brooks, and prepare yourself. What you are about to experience has broken minds stronger than yours. Nathan hesitated only briefly before placing his palms against the smooth, warm surface of the seed. Immediately, the light within it intensified, and he felt a tingling sensation spreading up his arms. Open your mind, Vrakenth instructed. Do not resist what comes. The tingling became a flood of sensation, and then Nathan was no longer standing in the mountain chamber. He was everywhere and nowhere, his consciousness expanding beyond the limits of his physical form. Images, concepts, and knowledge poured into him. Star maps of unimaginable detail, mathematical equations that made Einstein's work seem like elementary arithmetic, the history of civilizations that had risen and fallen across the galaxy over millions of years. And among it all, a warning. A desperate message left by the Seeders before they vanished from the galaxy. They were coming. The Devourers. And Earth was in their path. When Nathan's awareness returned to his body, he collapsed to his knees, gasping. Vrakenth stood over him, the dragon's expression unreadable. Now you understand, Vrakenth said softly. Now you know why the seed was left here. It's not just technology, Nathan said, his voice shaking. It's a weapon. A defense. It is hope, Vrakenth corrected. The last hope of my creators, entrusted to yours. The sound of boots on stone echoed from the entrance. Tyler had returned, and he wasn't alone. Behind him came 6 soldiers in full tactical gear, weapons raised. Dr. Brooks. A cold voice called from the back of the group. A woman stepped forward, her dark suit out of place among the military uniforms. I'm Director Lauren Bennett of the Strategic Defense Initiative. You've made quite a discovery here. Nathan rose shakily to his feet, positioning himself between the newcomers and the seed. After what he had just experienced, he understood all too well why Vrakenth had remained hidden for so long. Director Bennett, he acknowledged. This site is under academic jurisdiction. My research grant has been superseded by matters of national security, she cut him off smoothly. Her eyes moved past him to Vrakenth, widening slightly, but otherwise showing remarkable composure for someone facing a metallic dragon. Especially now that we've confirmed the existence of extraterrestrial technology. Tyler moved to stand beside Nathan, his expression grim. Ma'am, with all due respect, we don't fully understand what we're dealing with here. That's why we've brought specialists, Bennett replied, gesturing behind her. Two more individuals entered, a man and a woman in lab coats, carrying equipment cases. Dr. Reed and Dr. Patel will help us assess this artifact. The seed is not yours to take, Vrakanth said, its voice reverberating through the chamber. The soldiers raised their weapons higher, startled by the dragon's speech. Fascinating, Bennett said, recovering quickly. It communicates. Tell me, Dr. Brooks, have you established its purpose? Is it some form of AI? Vrakanth is a guardian, Nathan said carefully. Left here to protect knowledge meant for all of humanity, not just one nation. Bennett's smile didn't reach her eyes. Noble sentiment. But surely you understand that such technology needs to be secured and studied under controlled conditions. You mean weaponized, Nathan countered. I mean protected, Bennett corrected smoothly. From those who would use it against us. You're not naive enough to think other countries aren't searching for the same advantages, are you? Before Nathan could respond, one of the scientists, Dr. Reed, approached the seed, scanner in hand. Incredible energy readings. Like nothing we've ever recorded. Step away from the seed, Vrakanth warned, the metal of its body rippling with tension. Reed ignored the warning, reaching out toward the glowing sphere. Dr. Reed, wait. Nathan called out, but it was too late. As Reed's fingers touched the surface of the seed, a pulse of energy knocked everyone in the chamber off their feet. The scientist was thrown back several meters, his body smoking slightly as he landed in a crumpled heap. Open fire, Bennett shouted as she scrambled to her feet. No, Nathan cried, but the soldiers were already shooting, bullets pinging harmlessly off Vrakanth's metallic form. The dragon reared up, growing larger again, its wings spreading to fill the chamber. I warned you. It roared, no longer using the calm, measured tones of before. The seed is not for those who come with weapons and demands. A wave of energy emanated from Vrakanth's body, sending the soldiers flying backward. The chamber began to shake, stones falling from the ceiling. The mountains collapsing. Tyler shouted, pulling Nathan toward the exit. We need to get out. Nathan resisted, looking back at the seed. We can't leave it. You must, Vrakanth said, moving to shield the seed with its body. This place is no longer safe. I will protect the seed as I always have. Go now, Nathan Brooks. Remember what you have learned. Prepare your people for what is coming. The shaking intensified, and Tyler finally succeeded in dragging Nathan toward the exit. They passed Bennett, who was barking orders into a radio as her team retreated. This isn't over, she called to Nathan as they fled the collapsing chamber. Whatever's in there, it belongs to us now. You're wrong, Nathan replied, but there was no time for further argument as they raced out of the mountain. They emerged into chaos. The helicopters were taking off, abandoning the soldiers who were running from the trembling mountain. The massive stone dragon visage on the mountainside was crumbling, rocks tumbling down the slope with thunderous crashes. Get down, Tyler shouted, pulling Nathan behind an outcropping as debris rained around them. For several minutes, they could only huddle there as the mountain shook itself apart. When the rumbling finally subsided, they emerged to find the entrance to the chamber completely sealed by fallen rock. The dragon carving that had stood for thousands of years was gone, leaving only a scarred cliff face. Vrakanth, Nathan whispered, staring up at the ruined mountainside. The seed. Gone, Tyler said, dusting himself off. Buried. But Nathan shook his head slowly. No, not gone. Hidden again. Vrakanth is protecting it, just as he always has. He turned to Tyler, his eyes bright with the knowledge the seed had shared. And now we have work to do. What work? Tyler asked, eyeing the military helicopters that were circling back toward them. Nathan looked up at the sky, seeing it differently now, not as a blank blue canvas, but as a vast ocean filled with unseen dangers and wonders. To prepare, he said simply. They're coming, Tyler. And we need to be ready when they arrive. As the helicopters landed and Bennett emerged with a fresh team of soldiers, Nathan squared his shoulders. The knowledge from the seed burned in his mind. Star charts, technologies, warnings. Humanity had allies among the stars, he now knew, and enemies beyond imagination. The test had only just begun. 6 months later, Nathan sat in a sterile government facility, staring at the wall of his so-called office. The military had been debriefing him for weeks, extracting every scrap of information they could about Vrakenth and the seed. But Nathan had been careful, revealing only fragments of what the seed had shown him. "Good morning, Dr. Brooks," Director Bennett said as she entered without knocking. She placed a tablet on the desk showing satellite imagery of the mountain, collapsed, with no trace of the dragon statue. Nothing new to report. No energy signatures, no unusual readings. "It's as if your dragon never existed." "Vrakenth," Nathan corrected. "And just because you can't detect him doesn't mean he's gone." Tyler Grant entered, now wearing a colonel's insignia. After Bennett left, he closed the door and lowered his voice. "How much longer are you going to play this game, Nathan?" "Bennett is pushing for you to be transferred to a more secure facility for psychological evaluation." "A polite term for disappearing me," Nathan said with a humorless laugh. "Which is why we need to move forward with our plan. Tonight." "Emily?" Nathan asked, referring to Dr. Emily Chun. "In position," Tyler confirmed. "The network is in place." After the incident, Nathan had been quietly building connections. Archaeologists, linguists, astronomers, physicists, sharing carefully coded messages about what he had learned. Hours later, as the facility settled into night operations, the lights in Nathan's room flickered 3 times. It was time. Nathan activated a signal booster he'd assembled from smuggled components. The emergency lights came on as the facility's power fluctuated, and his door unlocked. He encountered only one guard, an ally in their growing network. "Dr. Brooks," a voice called as he reached the exit. Dr. Julia Patel, one of Bennett's scientists, approached and handed him a data drive. "Everything we've learned about the energy signatures from the mountain. I don't believe this knowledge should be monopolized by any single government." A distant alarm sounded. Their window was closing. Outside, Emily Chun waited in a maintenance truck. They crashed through the perimeter fence and sped into the desert night. Nathan made a call. Sleeping Guardian awakened. "Acknowledged," Professor Ryan Mitchell replied. "The network is activated. Coordinates for the secondary site confirmed." 3 weeks later, Nathan stood on a Himalayan plateau with a small team, the core of what they called the Sentinel Network. Before them loomed a massive stone structure, half buried in the mountainside. "It matches the coordinates exactly," Emily said, "and the symbols around the entrance are consistent with those from Vrakenth's chamber." The ground vibrated, and symbols on the rock face began to glow. The entire surface shifted, revealing a dark opening. From within came a soft blue glow as a figure emerged, not a dragon like Vrakenth, but a towering humanoid form composed of living crystal, filled with swirling lights like a galaxy of stars. "Oranos," Nathan breathed, recognizing the Guardian from his visions. "You have awakened Vrakenth," it said, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "The sequence has begun. We've formed a network," Nathan explained. "Scientists, engineers, thinkers from around the world, working in secret to prepare for the Devourers. The Devourers approach more rapidly than calculated," Oranos warned. "Your world has less than 5 years before first contact." The Guardian revealed a glowing tetrahedron within its chest, the Star Forge. Unlike Vrakenth's seed, which contained knowledge, the Star Forge contains power. Raw creation energy that, if misused, could tear your world apart. "How do we access it safely?" Emily asked. "Through consensus," Oranos answered. "The Star Forge cannot be controlled by any single human. It requires a harmony of minds, a shared purpose and vision." The distant sound of helicopter rotors echoed across the plateau. Bennett's forces had tracked them. Oranos raised a crystalline arm, creating an energy field around the area. "I will provide you time. You must take the Star Forge and continue your work. The tetrahedron emerged from the Guardian's chest and shrank to a portable size. It now awaits the consensus to activate. When you have gathered those chosen to operate it, the Star Forge will recognize your combined intent. Will you come with us? Nathan asked. My purpose is different. I must remain to activate the next phase, awakening the other Guardians around your world. All must be united for humanity to stand against what comes. Then how do we find the others? The star map within your mind. The locations were shared when you touched Vracanthus' seed. Nathan closed his eyes, calling forth the image, a map of Earth with 12 points of light. 10 more sites. 10 more Guardians. 10 more pieces of the defense system. Oranos corrected. Go now. The Devourers have detected the awakening of the Guardians. They will accelerate their approach. 6 months later, in a converted warehouse in Bangkok, the Sentinel network gathered around a circular table. The Star Forge floated above the center, pulsing with increased frequency. Status report, Nathan said. Guardian Site 7 secured, Emily reported. The Sentinel of the Deep has provided the aquatic propulsion systems we needed. Power generation blueprints from the Australian site have been implemented, Professor Mitchell added. The prototype reactor is already producing 300% more energy than our most advanced nuclear facilities. We're running out of time, Nathan said, checking the countdown display. 3 years, 2 months until projected first contact. The assembled scientists formed a circle around the table. 24 individuals, 2 chosen operators for each of the 12 Guardian sites, though 4 sites remain to be discovered. Focus on the defense system, Nathan instructed. Protection. Survival. A future for humanity among the stars. The Star Forge began to spin, its light changing from blue to gold. Holographic diagrams appeared, complex schematics for technologies beyond human development. Knowledge flowed between them, concepts clarifying as their combined consciousness interfaced with the ancient technology. Then Nathan saw it, the missing piece. Antarctica, he said aloud. The nexus point is in Antarctica. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Multiple aircraft approaching, Blake reported, and ground forces surrounding the perimeter. It's a coordinated strike, Chinese, Thai, and American forces. Emily, you and Professor Mitchell take the Star Forge, Nathan decided. Blake will get you out, along with Dr. Patel. Head for Antarctica as soon as possible. What about you? Emily asked. I'll stay and buy you time. Bennett wants me more than anyone else. The inner doors burst open, and soldiers poured in. Director Bennett entered with representatives from other world governments. Dr. Brooks, Bennett called. You've led us on quite a chase. Director, Nathan acknowledged calmly. I see you've made new friends. When we realized what you were doing, assembling alien technology all around the world, it became clear this was a threat that transcended national interests. Not a threat, Nathan corrected. A defense. Bennett approached him. Where are the artifacts? Where's the dragon? Gone. Move to the next site. Dr. Brooks, a Chinese official, said, technology this powerful cannot be controlled by a small group of civilians. It must be managed by established authorities. That's exactly what the Guardians are preventing, Nathan replied. The technology responds only to consensus, cooperation between chosen individuals working toward a single purpose. Then tell us how to become part of this consensus, Bennett demanded. I can't. The system chooses its operators, not the other way around. As soldiers moved to apprehend him, Nathan felt a familiar vibration through the floor. The building began to shake, cracks appearing in the walls. Evacuate, Bennett shouted, but as her forces retreated, a massive metallic form descended through the collapsing roof. Vracanth, wings spread wide. The first receiver is under my protection, the dragon announced, as are all who serve the defense of this world. The others? Nathan asked quietly. Safe. The Star Forge is en route to the nexus point as planned. Bennett made one last appeal. Brooks, be reasonable. We have resources that your network can't match. We do need to face this together, all of humanity united, Nathan replied. But not under military control. The defense system requires true consensus, equal participation without hierarchy. That's not how the world works, Bennett objected. Then the world must change, Vrakanth interjected, or it will not survive what comes. 2 years later, on the frozen wastes of Antarctica, the defense network neared completion. What had begun as a small outpost had grown into a vast complex buried beneath the ice, invisible to satellites, but humming with activity. In the central chamber, the Star Forge floated above a circular platform, now expanded to its full size, a brilliant tetrahedron the size of a small house, pulsing with golden energy. Around it, 11 smaller artifacts arranged in a perfect circle, the gifts from each guardian, each controlled by its chosen operators. Nathan stood with Emily, Professor Mitchell, and Blake, surveying their work with pride and apprehension. Tyler Grant had joined them 6 months earlier, finally convinced that the military approach would never succeed. Final systems check complete, Emily reported. The network is at 98% capacity. And the early warning system? Nathan asked. Blake gestured to a holographic display showing the solar system. Operational. We'll have approximately 72 hours notice when the Devourers enter our system. It may be enough, Vrakanth said, moving to join them. The dragon had reduced its size to fit within the chamber, but was no less impressive. If the consensus holds. Over the past year, a remarkable transformation had occurred. As evidence of the approaching threat mounted, unexplained astronomical phenomena, communication disruptions, anomalous readings from deep space probes, governments worldwide had finally begun to accept the reality of what was coming. Director Bennett had been the first to change course, using her influence to bring other military and intelligence agencies to the table. Now she stood on the opposite side of the chamber, coordinating with an international team of officials who had been permitted to observe but not interfere with the operator's work. They're accelerating, Tyler announced suddenly, monitoring the deep space feeds. New estimate puts them in our system in 36 hours. A tense silence fell over the chamber. They were ready, but barely. Initiate full network activation, Nathan decided. All operators to your stations. The 24 chosen individuals moved to their positions around the Star Forge, joined by 24 more who had been identified as the network expanded. Together, they represented every continent, dozens of countries, various disciplines and backgrounds, united by a single purpose. Director Bennett, Nathan called across the chamber. It's time for your people to implement the Global Alert Protocol. Bennett nodded and spoke into her communications device, giving orders that would cascade through military and civilian channels worldwide. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, and everyone needed to be prepared. As the operators placed their hands on the control interfaces, the Star Forge's glow intensified, and the 11 Guardian artifacts responded in kind. Energy began to flow between them, forming a complex web of light that extended beyond the chamber, beyond the Antarctic base, connecting to hidden nodes around the planet. Consensus established, Vrakanth announced. Defense network activating. Nathan felt the familiar sensation of shared consciousness as his mind linked with the others through the ancient technology. But this time, it extended further, touching minds across the Earth as the network brought humanity together in ways never before possible. Through this expanded awareness, he sensed the Devourers clearly for the first time, vast entities of technology and corrupted life, hungry for new worlds to consume. They had destroyed thousands of civilizations, absorbed countless species, and now their attention was fixed on Earth. But they were about to encounter something they had never faced before, a young species armed with the legacy of the Cedars, united in purpose, refusing to be consumed. The Star Forge reached full power, its energy connecting with the planetary grid. All across Earth, structures hidden for millennia activated. Ancient technology buried beneath mountains, oceans, and deserts, now awakening to serve its purpose. A shimmering field began to form in the upper atmosphere, visible from the ground as rippling curtains of light similar to the aurora borealis, but spanning the entire planet. The shield that would protect Earth from the Devourer's initial assault was taking shape. First stage complete, Emily reported. Planetary shield at 70% and rising. Second stage initiated, Professor Mitchell added. Orbital defense platforms deploying. Around the Earth, satellites that had been secretly modified by the network were transforming, unfurling complex structures that formed a secondary defensive layer in space. They've detected our defenses, Tyler warned, watching the incoming data. They're changing course, accelerating again. Nathan nodded, unsurprised. They've never encountered resistance like this before. They're curious. Or concerned, Vrakanth suggested. For the first time, they face prey that can fight back. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of activity as the defense network was pushed to its limits, systems activated ahead of schedule, operators working in shifts to maintain the consensus that powered everything. The Devourers continued to accelerate, cutting the projected arrival time in half. They'll reach lunar orbit in 60 minutes, Blake announced grimly. Nathan gathered the core team for one final briefing. This is what we've prepared for. The shield will hold against their initial probes. The orbital platforms will intercept their scout ships. But the real test will come when they realize we're not easy prey and bring their main force to bear. Will the defenses be enough? Emily asked what everyone was thinking. They have to be, Nathan replied. But remember, the technology itself is only part of the solution. The Cedars designed these defenses to be powered by consensus, by unity. As long as humanity stands together, the network will hold. Director Bennett approached their group, her expression solemn. The world's leaders are standing by. Every major population center has been prepared. People are frightened, but they're ready. Thank you, Nathan said sincerely. We couldn't have achieved this level of cooperation without your help. Bennett nodded. I was wrong to try to control this. Some powers are meant to be shared, not seized. A warning tone sounded throughout the facility. They're here, Tyler announced. On the main display, they watched as the first wave of the Devourers entered the Earth-Moon system, sleek, dark vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, moving with unnatural precision. Consensus at maximum, Vrakanth reported as the operators poured their collective will into the defense network. The planetary shield flared as the first probes attempted to penetrate it, holding firm against energies that could have cracked the planet's crust. The orbital platforms activated, firing concentrated beams of Cedar technology that cut through the smaller enemy vessels. For several hours, the battle raged in space, visible from Earth as flashes of light and energy beyond the shield. The Devourers tested the defenses systematically, probing for weaknesses, adapting their approach as they encountered resistance unlike any they had faced before. Then, unexpectedly, they pulled back. They're retreating to the outer system, Blake reported, confusion evident in his voice. Not retreating, Nathan corrected, understanding through the consensus link. Regrouping. Communicating. They've never encountered this situation before, a young species with Cedar technology properly implemented. What does that mean for us? Bennett asked. Vrakanth moved forward, eyes glowing intensely. It means we have achieved what my creators hoped for. The Devourers now face a choice: expend enormous resources to overcome our defenses, or seek easier prey elsewhere in the galaxy. And if they choose to continue the attack? Emily asked. Then we stand and fight, Nathan said firmly. With every resource the Cedars left us, with every mind united in defense of our world, we show them that humanity will not be devoured. Hours turned into days as the standoff continued. The Devourers maintained their position near Jupiter, occasionally sending small probes to test Earth's defenses, but mounting no major assault. Through the consensus link, Nathan and the other operators could sense their confusion, their reassessment. Finally, after a week of tense waiting, the enemy fleet began to move, not toward Earth, but away, accelerating toward the outer reaches of the solar system. They're leaving, Blake confirmed, checking and rechecking the data to be certain. A cheer erupted throughout the facility, spreading across the global network as the news traveled. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. "We did it," Emily said, tears of relief streaming down her face. "For now," Nathan cautioned. "They'll be back, or others like them will come. The galaxy is filled with dangers the Cedars tried to protect us from. And we'll be ready," Tyler assured him. "The defense network is established. The Guardians are awakened. Humanity is united as never before." Vrakanth approached Nathan, shrinking to a more human scale. "You have fulfilled your role as first receiver, Nathan Brooks. The test my creators set for humanity has been passed. What happens now?" Nathan asked. "Now," the dragon replied, "you take your rightful place among the stars. The Cedars did not leave their technology merely for defense. Once you were safe from the Devourers, they intended you to join the greater community of sentient beings." The Starforge pulsed, and new schematics appeared in the holographic display. Ships designed for exploration, not war. Communication systems to reach across interstellar distances. Technology to heal Earth's environmental wounds. "A gift," Vrakanth explained, "for proving yourselves worthy successors to my creators." As the operators gathered around the new designs, Nathan felt a profound sense of completion. What had begun with a whispered phrase to a dragon statue had culminated in humanity's first steps toward becoming a true spacefaring civilization. The mountain had shaken, the world had changed, and the stars were now within reach. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.